Let's do one of those fancy starts. Ready? Here it is.
Mhm.
It feels very beginny-y with that then. Rebekah Griffith, the ED, DPT. Oh, I need to put my fancy microphone on. Hang on. I probably sound cooler. Do I sound cooler?
Way cooler.
Way cooler. How are you doing today? It's been a while
I'm
since
good.
we were on the podcast together.
I think we've been busy.
Well, we saw each other in person not long ago.
Yeah, in Denver.
We did an impromptu sort of pint night, happy hour.
Yeah.
We use it as an excuse to get together. You and I like to talk about books because you read a lot of books. I read some books.
Yes.
I do read books. I promise people I read books. So let's talk about what you're reading, and I'll talk about what I'm reading. But really, it's the lessons. Like what you're reading is a show off. I do like to show off my books, though, to show people how smart I am, or how smart I think I am, or how smart I feel. So what are you reading?
So I've got 2 books for you that I just recently read. And one of them you're going to be like, oh yeah, that seems like something that Rebekah would read and like that would apply to PT. Like I totally get that. And I think you would like it. I think I recommended it to you. And then the other one is going to throw you for a loop. So do you want to go for the loop first?
No, save the loop
for
for that.
second?
Yeah,
Okay.
like 30 lead.
So the first book that I want to mention is like How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen by David Brooks.
Okay. That one seems obvious, right?
Yes.
Because that's what we try to do as people and clinicians. I'm just really any people.
Well, and just from a perspective of communicating. So David Brooks is a journalist that you've probably heard of. And he really wanted to become better at interviewing people and understanding people because that's his job. And I thought that's kind of our job too, is that we have to interview people all the time and then do something with that information. And I feel like with the less time we have in healthcare and the more checklist-based things become, we're kind of losing the art of seeing people. And I think physical therapists will be more effective if we can actually see our patients a little bit more clearly.
That was the thing that was hard for me to get over when I was a student PT. Was I had a CI over my shoulder, which is fine. But then the critique I often got was, but you didn't ask the checklist. And I was like, well, that wasn't the second question. I remember vividly, that wasn't the second question you were supposed to ask. And I was like, but it was based on the fact that of the first answer they gave me. I now needed to ask this question. How do I know the second question unless they answer the first question?
Right. And I just finished my fellowship, and one of the pieces of feedback that I got.
Congratulations! Don't just blow over that. Congratulations! What is your fellowship? Explain to everybody what your fellowship is.
I just am wrapping up my fellowship in orthopedic manual therapy. So
you're going to be a FAMT.
I'm going to be a FAMT. Not yet. I've still got to apply for graduation and all of that.
Yeah, you're going to be a FAMT.
But I passed the test on Friday. So
congratulations.
Somebody was asking me, they were like, how do you know your score already? And I'm like, well, I don't know my score. It's not like that. It's like, I know that I passed because it's basically like, imagine a practical from PT school where you have somebody asking you questions and you have a case scenario and you're like demonstrating things and all of that for 4.5 hours.
That sounds horrible.
It was pretty brutal. So, there was like a written test that was handed in beforehand, and then there was a evidence-based practice portion, and then there was like a case scenario portion and a skills portion, and it was 4.5 hours. So at the end they tell you passed or not, and then there's because we're physical therapists, a self-reflection period, which I actually thought was a really nice way to wrap up the fellowship. Like, what did you learn and what did you reflect on? So it was great. But one of the pieces of feedback I got from one of my clinical instructors is Rebekah is excellent at establishing rapport with her patients, but it takes a while. That takes time.
Oh my gosh. But that's a human thing.
Yeah. And so, I think the intent of that feedback was really positive. She's excellent at doing this, but we only have this much time. And I just feel like if you invest that time, then your overall outcomes and ultimately, I feel like your efficiency is better if you're establish that rapport and connection right away.
Right. We click with some people faster than others, right? You ever just meet someone you click with? I have no scientific reasoning for this, and I don't know if there is any. Somebody probably studied it, but some people you click with later. I remember a kid I was best friends with when I was 11 or 12. I disliked this kid at first, and then he grew on me, right? So like in healthcare, it's like you have to not formulate deep relationships, but sometimes you got to get people to tell you things. And it's simple. Just get them to tell you all the things. Not easy, right?
Right. Well, and this one particular patient had come in and was like, clearly had like a lot of fear avoidance behaviors, a lot of thoughts about what physical therapists were and were not, really wanted to see one specific therapist for one specific treatment because they have one specific friend who's had a lot of specific success with this one thing, even though it wasn't necessarily appropriate for this patient. So for me, like taking the time to hear all that fear and also identify that hope and then put it together and harness that for what's actually indicated for that patient is going to take a minute. Because if that person walks in and they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just here for dry needling. I'm not going to do anything else. Then you're probably going to lose a customer. And that person's going to still have this perception of physical therapists as they don't listen. They don't do what I want them to do. They don't really understand what's going on with me. And I'm still afraid. Right? I'm still going to leave here afraid.
Right.
So anyways, this book was super helpful. There are a couple of different concepts from it. And one of them was illuminators versus diminishers. And the thought around that was like, can you listen well, ask good questions, and like raise that person up, like shine a spotlight on those things that need to be seen. And then the diminishers were really the ones that don't listen, they ignore, they make judgments, and they like dominate that conversation. So I thought that was an interesting way to consider how you want to walk into your patient encounters. And then loud versus quiet voices, how to hear the subtle or quiet voices versus only giving attention to the things they're saying loudly. Like look for the like more subtle messages. And then the other two pieces that I want to throw out there are the art of attention. And the quote is, attention is the deepest form of love. So if you can make somebody feel like deeply attended to, it goes back to that whole quote, like people won't remember what you did, they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think that's a huge part of that. And then the last piece that I've been using this a lot, just like as a parent, as a wife, as a physical therapist, is this concept of curiosity over judgment. And I love that. Just out of curiosity, not judgment, why did you choose to do it that way? Or curiosity, not judgment, like why do you feel like dry needling is really important to you? Why does that feel like this is the treatment that you need, for example? So those are the core concepts that I really felt good with after reading that book.
Yeah. I mean, what does that last one sound like? What TV character does that last one sound like?
I am told it's a Ted Lasso situation, but I'm not a TV person.
At the end, spoiler alert ahead. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso season 1, and I've only seen Ted Lasso season 1, I've just been lazy. But there's this scene. Spoiler alert. Skip unless you want to see. There's a scene where there's like the bad guy essentially, whatever, and he's a kind of a prick and he's pompous. And Ted tells this story while he's like, as he's got to throw 3 darts. He's got to hit 3 darts to win, and I forget what the stakes were, but. And his whole spiel was be curious, not judgmental.
There you go.
And I think the reason this hits for so many people is either they've been burned by people being judgmental and not curious. And myself, I've been judgmental and not curious. I think we all have at some points, right?
Yeah,
it's faster. It's faster, right? Look at that person and how they dress. They must be a prick. Like, I'm sorry, but I've done it. I have done it. That's why stereotypes are stereotypes. But messages like this book that you're explaining to me and Ted Lasso's speech was like, hey, maybe don't do that. And it's not even for the other person. It's like you're going to get it wrong. It's not like just be nice to people. It's like, dude, like you could really screw up if you are judgmental.
Well, and I feel like when you ask somebody from the perspective of curiosity and not judgment, their response is completely different. Right? You're inviting them to share their thought process. You're inviting them to share things about themselves. You're inviting them to be understood versus if you're coming at it from a perspective of judgment, like you're inviting them to be defensive. You're inviting them to feel judged. You're inviting them to feel like they can't trust you. So I think, do you want to be that space for people to be understood, or do you want to be that space for people to avoid?
Okay, what's the second book that that's like a throw me for a loop that wouldn't seem normal for you, or whatever you said? What did you say?
It's the new Hunger Games book.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a new Hunger Games book.
Yes.
Were there three? I saw the movies. Three
There were
movies.
three Hunger Games, maybe three Hunger Games books, and then there was a prequel that kind of came out, I think, during COVID.
Of course.
And this is another prequel. And it was really good. But here's how I'm going to tie it in. Do you remember from the movies, like, the character of Haymitch?
Yeah, he was Woody Harrelson.
Yes, exactly. And he was an alcoholic. Yes. So it's Haymitch's origin story. So,
Cool.
he was an alcoholic and he hated everybody and he was kind of abusive and detached and like didn't want to help anybody. And this book just explains his whole life story and how he got to where he is, how he ended up in the Hunger Games, like why he is the way he is. And I'm not going to give it away because it's so good. I'm just going to encourage you to read it. It's called Sunrise on the Reaping.
Okay.
But the takeaway from me and how I'm going to connect this to physical therapy is trauma-informed care. Because we don't know why people are the way they are. And we're going to just judge them, right? Like, it's so easy in the Hunger Games to judge Haymitch because he's an alcoholic and he's a jerk and nobody likes him. And he behaves like he brought this on himself, like all of that. And you can't understand why he is the way he is. But then you make it through this whole book. And you're like, oh my goodness.
Do you need the whole book to figure out why Haymitch might drink a little? He was forced to murder 15 people or 20-something people, right? He went through a murder. It's like called the Hunger Games, but it's called Murderville. Like, don't get killed. And then how many districts are there? 12, 13?
Yes. And in the Hunger Games that he goes to, they doubled it because it was like the 25th year or whatever. And so there were actually like 48 of them.
Right. So you went through the purge.
Right.
I think he's
even if it's just that, I feel like you can have a little grace about that, but you're like, why are you the only mentor that can't pull it together? Right.
Right.
And the other piece of it is there are other characters in this book that you'll recognize from the Hunger Games. And it also kind of gives you some insight into why they are the way they are. And so it's such a beautiful, like, nuanced discussion. I mean, it's really brutal, right? Like, and you're like, of course they're like that. But the take home is, everybody has a story that explains why they are the way they are, how they coped the way they coped.
That's why, and I didn't do this on purpose, but when I meet new people, I say, what's your superhero origin story?
I love that.
It's a dumb way of saying it, and they giggle, but I'm also not asking them, what do you do for a living? Where'd you go to school? Because I'm saying,
that's checklist.
And but also you can start this from wherever. You could be like, well, I was an engineer that became a psychotherapist. Great. There's your origin story. So this is people always say shameless plug. I have no problem, no shame. This is just called a plug. I have a second podcast, a little one that I did years ago. A friend pitched it to me. He is a psychologist. He's a doctor of clinical psychology at Thomas Jefferson. One of my oldest friends since college. He pitched this idea to me. I was like, that's cool. We did 6 episodes and then life, like he's got kids and life, right? It's hard.
Right.
And the premise of the pod, it's called Cinema Psych.
Ooh.
And his pitch, I'm there as just a host. He's there as the expert. He's like, okay, episode 1, we're going to take Anakin Skywalker. Spoiler alert. He's Darth Vader. And then we do exactly that. We go back to why does Darth Vader force choke people? Yeah. And then I'll give you like the quick, and then he's also able to use psychology terms like legitimately in context. Yeah. So he's like, and I'll give you here's the sell of that Anakin Skywalker episode. By the end, you're like, damn, I get why he's doing it. If that happened to me, I'd probably do the same thing. He's a slave with his mom. A Jedi comes and frees him. He becomes a Jedi. He comes back to free his mom. She died like a week before he got there. So the universe gave him freedom, but then took his mother. Then he meets Natalie Portman, Padme, and he's not supposed to be in love with her, but they are. And then so he's given love, even though he's not supposed to have it as a Jedi. She is having twins. In the birth of the twins, she dies. So he's given love and the universe is like, no. So all he knows is whenever you're given something, it's taken away. So then he just turns and goes, I have all this power. You know what I'm going to do? Everything sucks. You would do it too. We would do it too. That's how we react. So that's a pitch for the show is, and what we found was bad guys have cooler stories. Good guys are good. Good guys are good because they're good. Unless like someone, and this is like for Jamie, we should do like a John Wick. Good guy, but he's an assassin. He murdered a lot of people, but he does it like whatever. But it's always the evil people that have like the cooler stories. By the end of the episode with Anakin Skywalker, in my opinion, you wind up walking away feeling sort of bad for him, where you're like, not even bad, not a good or bad. How about this? You understand him more, which is, I think, the point of that whole book, right, with Hamish.
For sure, but like, why aren't the people that go through that kind of thing, overcome that, and become a good person more interesting than the people that totally gone off the rails? And I think the reason for that is all of us are that person. We're that person that has to deal with hard things, and we still show up to work every day. We still do all of these things. We're not the person that like was like, okay, I'm going to death choke people when I go to work instead. And so I think that feels very, very routine.
Death choke is always an option. Just you shouldn't pick it.
I feel like you might like, I'm all about top of scope practice, and that feels like a manual technique that would maybe not be in scope. Oh,
I see what you mean there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If Darth Vader were a physical therapist, what type of PT would he be? Where would he practice? What do you think? Manual therapy? He never lays hands, right? He force chokes.
He's the Reiki practitioner, maybe. He's
Reiki practitioner. Yeah, and he's into mystical arts and magic.
He's moving your chi and however that works. I don't know how it works. I'm not a Reiki practitioner, so I shouldn't.
So those are the two books that you're reading. What's on the horizon for you? I feel like you always have good books on the horizon.
I do. I'm starting one right now. Let me see what it's called.
And for people watching live or listening later, recommendations. Like fire away, if you want to come, maybe this could turn into our version of one of the greatest television shows that PBS ever saw was with Mr. LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow, where people just explained books and they made it interesting for kids. Like think how hard that was. They made books interesting for kids. Like for me, I could care less about books. I didn't like books until I graduated from college.
Well, and he made it interesting for us. Like we were those kids, Jimmy. Like we were the Reading Rainbow kids. So I totally agree. I have Scarcity Brain is on my list, which seems interesting. It's about like rewiring your habits and how emotions are made, which I'm interested in. And then
who wrote Scarcity Brain?
Scarcity Brain, Michael Easter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And give me one more that you're looking forward to reading.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I have like a little like rom-com going too called First Time Caller.
Oh, is it
about a radio show?
Of course it is.
Yeah. First Time Caller. It's about a romance radio show, Jimmy. That can be your next podcast.
Long-time listener, first time caller. All right, here's the two books that I am reading.
Ready?
One is called Unscaled. Unscaled, how AI and a new generation of upstarts are creating the economy of the future. And this is by Hemant. I'm going to mess up his name. Hemant Tanaj. I shouldn't mess this up because the new job I just took, he is like on the board of directors. This guy's like a big deal. That's why I picked the book up. Don't mess up his name. But I also never make fun of people if they mess up a name they've only read, because we make up if you don't know properly how to say the name. But Hemant Tanaj. Maybe I'll get him on the podcast. He's written several books, and he's just like one of those people who like hovers around big things and makes big things happen. I'm only a little way. I'm about a third through it, and I've had to put the book down several times and take notes and be like, oh yeah. Because what I like about this is he's written newer books, but I started with one of his older books. A lot of the things that he predicted, I'd say about 40% are like happened. And 40% in prediction, especially around like tech and AI, that's pretty good. Like that's 400 batting average if you're playing baseball. That's Hall of Fame numbers. So what they're saying is like, and what we're seeing in PT healthcare is a lot of people who are like, oh, rage against the machine. I'm going to do it my way. And they're doing it. And so the one story that he told, or I told, is like, or that I'll tell is like back in the day, it was like, how can you have the biggest footprint? How many stores and how many square feet does Walmart have? Because that's how to be big. The goal is get big fast, and then you force choke out all of your competitors. And because you're the biggest, you're the best. And now he's like, it's literally, it's going to be one of those moves where it's like opposite. Everything's upside down. Like if you can be a one person practice,
yeah,
you can accomplish, like you don't need to have 40,000 employees to accomplish what you want to do. Like the organization I'm working for now, Athelis, I don't know how many people we have, but it's not 40,000, but we're not going to need that. But we could get impact without scale in the traditional sense, as I use air quotes on a podcast. So it's cool to see. And I think the lessons, like I know that has AI and tech in the title, I think you can apply them to pretty much anything, these concepts. And then the second one,
to tell you, can I give my little AI plug? I
Yes.
was studying with ChatGPT over this
how
last week because I was like, didn't know how to prepare and I was struggling, and whatever study skills I had from PT schools and like my NCS seemed to have abandoned me. So I was using ChatGPT a lot and it was really helpful. Like I was like, here's all this EBP stuff I need to know. Please quiz me and make me apply it. And it would do that. And then I would be like, can you please ask me questions about clinical prediction rules and things like that? And it would. And then, we were doing some cases and it was like, you're ready for any DPT exam there might be. And I was like, okay, bro, but like I'm studying for a FAMT. And it was like, oh, FAMT, leveling up. Like, here's how these things are different. Here's what we're going to add to this so that you can do this. Like, here's how, like, let's pretend this is an oral portion of a FAMT exam. And then like and I would like reply to it and it would be like, that's not, your critical thinking is lacking. You need to level up with these components. And here's how a fellow would say this. And like, it was really helpful. And it would be like, would you like a case from emergency medicine and physical therapy? Yes, I would. So, I mean, I've been like one of those people who I think was a little like slow to adopt AI. Like I couldn't see how it could benefit me. And I just didn't feel like I had time to use it. Like I want to write my own things. I want to but I want to use AI so I have more time to do creative things, not use AI to do my creative things. And so I was doing that and it helped me so much. It was a little creepy when it told me that I had earned my Diet Coke for the day. I was like, dang, okay, you know me pretty well. But it even got my Britney Spears references and things. So I felt like I had a little study bestie.
This is what I explain to people. Number one, be curious. Like, why have you not necessarily played with AI? If I don't have time for it, I don't understand it. Valid. This is coming, right? Genie's left the bottle, as I said in a previous episode. I like when people get to that realization, which is like, I don't want AI writing your poetry. I want AI doing your taxes or doing your billing at a healthcare practice so you get paid more. And then you can spend time writing your poetry and seeing more patients. Or I know that's where people's heads go. It's like, well, then my boss is just going to make me see more patients. I'm like, or could you see that patient longer because you have 12 more minutes, and 12 minutes times 15 patient interactions with that patient is a big deal.
It's a big deal. Well, and I think other things too, like as we prepare for CSM applications to be due tomorrow too.
Oh, I gotta write one. Oh, okay.
Do I want AI writing my presentation? No. Do I want it finding references for me? Yes. Do I want it considering an alternative perspective that I haven't considered so I can include that in my presentation? Yes. I feel like I'm going to come up with a more unbiased, well-researched presentation if I have it do some of that work for me.
Do you want it to be a super enthusiastic, well-read assistant to help you get to a better idea that you might not have tripped across? In a previous book that we talked about, Steven Johnson, Where Do Good Ideas Come From? He talks about ideas as in this idea of the adjacent possible. So think of yourself standing on a square on an infinite checkerboard. And he's like, the only way to get to that idea 49 blocks forward and 63 blocks to the right is to go one at a time, right? Like you couldn't have pictured a strobe light if you didn't first invent electricity. Like that idea was not possible because electricity needed to come first. And I think conversations, the more creative you can be with AI, like I got a really great, like I'm going to submit an AI presentation to CSM probably before tomorrow because that's when the things stop. Due tomorrow. And like the title, I was having fun with it, but I was like, there's something better. And it was like Control Alt Treat. And I was like, got it. Because it's the opposite of delete, but everybody knows Control Alt Delete.
Yes.
So it was like
I love that.
plus alt plus treat. And I was like, how to use AI in clinical applications. It was like, I saw what you were trying to do. I just got there faster. Now, I don't have it write all my titles for podcasts and YouTube videos, but some of them are like, oh, play on that, make it more this, make it less this. So,
well, and I feel like if you and I were doing that work together, like I was like, Jimmy, we're going to do this presentation. You go research all these articles and I'll work on this part. Like nobody would think that was a bad thing at all. Correct. So it's so strange to me that like, this is an assistant I can afford.
Correct. Yes. For $20 a month if you're using the paid program. I mean,
and it's giving me the information that I need. And actually like the quality, I think to a certain extent is going to be better. Am I only using that? No, but it is a good supplement to bring that in.
Now, check your references.
Yes, 100%. It listed me as one of the references for something and it was totally wrong. So I have been checking them, but it does do a nice like initial search.
Good first pass. Good second pass.
Yep.
But you're a human and you're like, but I don't want, great, look at it. Like you can use AI in documentation as with one of the tools at Athelos where I just started working. I tell people all the time, you're in charge though. Like your name goes at the bottom. So look at it last. Like, so does it save you a ton of time? Yes. Are you going to trust this blindly? No, I don't trust a lot of things blindly. Very sorry. I don't.
No, never copy and paste references. I always take a look at them and then I look up the reference and I'm like, yes, I like that one. No, I don't like that one. And it's all good. But one question for you, Jimmy, do you think AI is going to do meta-analyses? Is there going to be a role for researchers to do a meta-analysis or can AI just do that for us?
The meta-analysis is analyses of analyses, right?
Correct.
Because I'm not really a researcher. Yeah, why wouldn't you could do it now? Like you could do it 10 minutes ago. You could have done it yesterday.
Right. So I think that'll be interesting too to see how that goes.
The answer is yes. It's probably yes. With if you're like, could it do this? The answer is like, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Here's the second book. Mine is different. So the first one is like an obvious book for Jimmy because it's about like business or AI or tech. This one, have you heard of this? You've seen, you probably read this one, right?
Yes. I saw somebody driving down the highway in Colorado the other day that had a license plate that said, let them.
Oh, I thought you were going to say reading a book. And I'm like, please don't tell me they're reading a book.
No, but the license plate said, let them.
So this is Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory.
I've heard the podcast. I haven't read the book. Should I read the book?
I mean, you love books. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what her voice sounds like? Do you know her energy?
Yes.
Then I would say yes. I would say if anybody like listen to any one of her podcasts or videos, even like she has one of the most viewed TED Talks. Just listen to her energy. So when you're reading it in her voice because she does have a very great voice. Like
I wonder if she reads the audiobook.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. See, I'm not a big audiobook person. So I never thought about that. I need to go get that person's voice or I invent voices. I'm like, I imagine what this person talks like if I've never seen a video.
But sometimes if people write their own book and it's like a nonfiction or if it's an autobiography, I really like to hear them read it because they read it exactly how they intended it.
Agreed. So Let Them Theory is essentially like, I don't know. Is it a self-help book or it's just like a sort of like social, I don't know. It's a book. And essentially it's like, if you have a situation in your life where someone else is doing something you don't like, let them, because you're not going to stop them anyway. Like you're not going to stop them anyway. No. So you have to sort of be like, all right. But it's not like be passive aggressive. That doesn't work. Or if it does, it works the opposite. Like it does. Well, I'm going to reverse psychology them. All right. But that's using a lot of your energy and time and emotion to get them to do something that they're probably going to do anyway.
I think my take home from the podcast was really like, then you have energy for the things where you really can't let them.
Yeah. This goes along, and I'm a third of the way through this book too. It's sort of like the rubber ball, glass ball theory, which is like, there's some things you can let bounce. Like my friend doing that thing that I don't want him or her to do. And I'm going to like really want to, it's like, you're honestly, man, like focus on the things that you can. That's a good stress technique. Write down everything that's going on. Great. Yep. Cross out everything you can't control. And what's left, get to work, baby. Like that was it to begin with. Those were the things to begin with. That's been simple, but not easy for me. Like and this is rare. This is the camera shot that I use for every video, right? I'm in my kitchen. I'm at my island, which is probably not the best place to work when you want to turn work off, but it's always this nice window, light, natural light, this painting that's very calm and serene. Do you want to see what people don't normally see?
Yeah.
This is my kitchen table filled with paperwork. And that is a box of paperwork. And because I am power of attorney for my dad, who I've talked about this before, had a stroke a year and a half ago, and I'm going through paperwork, like reverse Sherlock Holmes stuff. I didn't even have my dad's social security number when he had the stroke. I had to go find that somewhere. And I was like, great, a clue. And it's cute at first. It's like, I feel like I'm Nicolas Cage in National Treasure. And then after a while, you want to just jump out a window.
Yeah.
But I figured out, wrote down everything I could control and everything else I could. And I was like, well, it'll either get solved or it won't. But me not sleeping because of it. Now that's easy. It's easy to say. And it's taken me a while. But it's the only thing that's going to get you through it. Well, not the only thing, but it's one of the things that's going to get you through it.
Yeah. And I think particularly if you're like a people pleaser, the let them theory is helpful.
I'm a woo. Did you ever take the Strengths Finders test?
Yes, because of you.
Did we ever compare results?
I don't think we did. We'll have to do that next time.
That's a great episode. Okay, so for context, Strengths Finders is like one of these personality tests. And I'm not going to say it's better or worse than any of them. I think they all have similarities, right? What I liked about this one was this gave you, what they call them? Personality types. And there's like 20, there's like 27, and it's like you have probably some of this in your DNA, but it ranks the bigger ones first. And I won't go in. We'll make it a whole episode. This is what we'll do next week. Where I found it powerful, because like the top 5 for me are not going to they're not shocking unless if you know me for more than 15 minutes, and I'm sure the same for you. What became powerful was when I started sharing them with people that I worked with, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Or how do our two things play well or not play well unless you know about them, and then you can adjust. That's where this thing was powerful. It's kind of like reading your horoscope. It's like, that's cute, but like, how am I going to use this? And this actually had like a real world application.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a big horoscope person. I think they're fun.
Are you really? What is your sign? What is your thing?
I'm a Leo, obviously.
Oh, okay. I'm a Scorpio. What does that say? I don't understand the.
Well, I don't know because I'm a Leo. I don't really care about anybody else's sign. I'm just really focused on my own. That's how that works.
Is that a Leo trait? That's a Leo trait.
100%.
I feel maybe Scorpios are skeptical because I'm like, I feel like if you read a horoscope, you can make it be true because you're just going to keep looking at it. It's like you can see a face in anything. Humans try to put that. So maybe I'll research.
Ask ChatGPT how like different characteristics of physical therapists based on their astrological sign.
Smart. That's good. All right, we've been going for a half hour. Is there anything else you've wanted to talk about, or we can do parting shots? Because this is the middle of the day that we're doing this.
Yeah, I think parting shots are good. What
is your parting shot for today?
I think my parting shot for today is just curiosity, not judgment. Like you need to know people. You can't go in with expectations, right? You can read their intake forms. You can read their medical chart. You can look at them. And I know some people who are like, I already know everything I need to know about this person. And I've been seeing a lot of things on social media too about like physical therapists are lazy or physical therapists don't practice what they preach or like all blah, blah, blah. And like, you don't know people. So take a minute to actually get to know people with curiosity, not judgment, learn about their story, and you'll be much more effective human and a way better physical therapist.
You're going full Ted Lasso in your parting shot. I do like that.
And I've never even seen Ted Lasso. So
you would eat Ted Lasso up with a spoon. Like you would love that. I think you.
I'm watching The West Wing. I'm rewatching The West Wing, so I can't watch Ted Lasso right now.
All right. It's funny you bring up curious, not judgmental. I will yes and that. I asked a question on LinkedIn today, and the title, of course, I'm going to try to write a compelling, attention grabbing, because attention is a love language, attention grabbing headline. And I said, mediocrity in healthcare is something we should just accept. And people are like, what? I got your attention.
Yes.
And then I say, like, we didn't go through years of school, clinicals, and sleepless nights just to punch a clock, though. And yet patients still walk away disappointed in their care. Why? Here's the real question. If you're a provider who refuses to settle for average, if you're at the top of the 50% of our profession or whatever profession you're in, what do you do actively to raise your bar, not just for yourself, but for your whole team? And then the 4 poll questions options were lead by example, celebrate great care, mentor and teach peers, or set and uphold standards. And right now the votes are sort of split between lead, mentor, and uphold standards. Celebrate great care is at 7%. I think the answer is probably a little bit of all of this.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, why do we have to pick one? Because I feel like I would like to do all of those.
You can do all of them. I will also say this is like some good like context knowledge from people I've spoken to. It's like, keep in mind, there's always going to be a bottom 10%. There's always going to be a leading cause of death. There's always going to be the bottom third of your profession. Like, that will be there. Like, that's going to be there. So while you might say, of course, physical therapists are great, I'm like, actually, statistically, 33% of them are the bottom third and they're shitty.
Yeah.
And let them be shitty, because you're not going to control them anyway. Now, this doesn't say like shout your message from the rooftops if that's what you like to do. What I think let them says is disconnect what you do from the outcome.
Yeah.
So if they don't do it, whatever. You're going to suck anyway. Sucks to suck.
So you can put this out into the universe, but you're not responsible for pulling everybody with you.
Benjamin Franklin, right, said your personal laws or liberties stop at the tip of your nose, or stop at the tip of my nose. Like, you can do anything you want, just you can't punch me in the nose. Like, that's like the rule. Like, it stops at the tip of your nose. So I think a little Benjamin Franklin, Mel Robbins would be a fun way to look at it. So next week, I'm going to go through, I took that Strengths Finders years ago, but I'm going to find my results.
Yeah.
And then you find yours, and we'll like we'll go every other top, because I think it's top 5 is what I paid for, the cheap version. And then we'll see what it says about, okay, great. If you heard this from someone else, be conscious of that so you can work well, because the goal is to work well with colleagues and friends. And this works in personal and professional relationships and strangers. See, there's the close the loop. That's what we started with. Rebekah Griffith, the EDDPT, where can people find you?
At the EDDPT.
That's correct. That's good. Good answer. And I'm Jimmy McKay. Thanks for listening to the live stream and the podcast at PT Pintcast. If you go to the PT Pintcast website in the next 7 days, I'm going to have a new website. I got somebody just to build me one. I said, you know what? I'm bad at websites, but I know they're important. So someone's building me one. Bit bigger, fancier. Actually, it's probably smaller. It's less complicated. It's less confusing. It's direct. So we'll talk about that in a future episode. Rebekah, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.